Bandeyaham Shri Guru Shri Judapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Shagarajatam Shahagana Raganatam Vitam Tam Shajibam Shadvaitam Shavadutam Parijanashaitam Krishna Chaitana Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivishakang Vitangscha Mantra Guru Jota Shika Guru Gantar Chadane Agikori Abandon Bansha Kalpa Tarubiyash Takripa Shinda Beba Cha Putitanam Pavaneba Boishna Beba Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharyane Niravisha Shashannavari Pashtate Desha Tadane Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sri Gaura Bhakta Binda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. The materialistic people of Nadia were constantly criticizing the devotees. What is the use of all of this howling and screaming? I am Brahman. These Vaishnavas, they beg from door to door and simply fill their bellies. I suggest we break down their doors and smash their homes. Srila Vrindavan Thakur is describing the circumstances in Navadip. Shunya deki bhaktagang shako shangsha. The devotees simply saw the entire world as devoid. Shunya. Ha Krishna Baliya Dukha Bhabin Apar. Ha Krishna Baliya Dukha. In great distress, they simply called out and prayed to Krishna. Ha Krishna Baliya. Heno Kale Totai Oilo Haridash. Shuddha Vishnu Bhakti Jar Vigraha Prakash. Heno Kale. At that time, Ailo Haridas, Srila Haridasa Thakura arrived in Navadip. Shuddha Vishnu Bhakti Tar Vigraha Prakash. His body is simply a manifestation of pure devotion to Lord Krishna. Ebe Shuno Haridas Thakurer Kotar Jaha Shravane Krishna Paibe Sharbata. Shuno, brothers. Haridas Thakurer Kotar. Descriptions of Srila Haridasa Thakura. Jaha Shravan, those who hear these descriptions, Krishna, Paibe, Sharbata, they will very quickly attain the shelter of Sri Krishna. Today being the disappearance festival of Srila Haridasa Thakura, Ananta Chaturdasi, we will in detail describe the pastimes of his departure as described by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in the 11th chapter of Antya LIla. And to lead into that discussion, we'll discuss briefly some of the transcendental pastimes of the life of Srila Haridasa Thakura. He was born in East Bengal, district of Budhan, which is near Joshore, which is nearby the birthplace of Srila Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. And he left that area and came here in the direction of Ma Ganga to Navadip. On the way, Haridas Jabe Nija Griha Tyag Koilo, giving up his place of birth, Nija Griha. Benapoler Bon Mode Kotodin Rohilo. At Benapol he remained for some days. So this pastime of Srila Haridasa Thakura delivering the prostitute at Benapol, this happened well before the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is describing. Nijan Bone Kutir Kori Tulashi Shebon, building a kutir, Tulashi Shebon. He worshipped Tulasi Maharani, Nirjan Bone, alone in the forest. Ratri Dine Tin Loka Nam Shankirtan. And day and night he simply chanted the holy name of the Lord, Nam Shankirtan, Tin Loka, 300,000 names a day. This wonderful Leela, where Sri Haridasa Thakura delivered the prostitute, this occurred before the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At that time, the envious Ramchandra Khan, he tried to dishonor and to create ill repute for Srila Haridasa Thakura, and as a result of that offense to a pure Vaishnava, Nityananda Prabhu cursed him. That's described in detail in chapter 3 of Antya LIla. That's an entire chapter dedicated to the glories of Srila Haridasa Thakura. in Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta, and also in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adi Konda, chapter 16, the chapter is entitled The Glories of Srila Haridasa Thakura. So there's 2 chapters which exclusively describe his glories, and in numerous other instances throughout Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat and Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta, the transcendental pastimes of Srila Haridasa Thakura are described. So before arriving in Nadia, on the way, this is East Bengal, West Bengal, on the way is Benapole. And so he remained there for some time, and the LIla of delivering the prostitute occurred. And then he remained in that place, wandering around various manifestations of ecstatic symptoms, profuse crying, horripilation, laughing, fainting, perspiring. People would gather around in crowds just to see the unrestricted tears of love that flowed profusely from his eyes, drenching his entire body. So at that time also, the incident of Haridasa Thakura being arrested by the Muslim justice of Pulia district and brought before the Nawab and taken to jail. That's all described in Chaitanya Bhagavat, and Prabhupada refers to that on several occasions. And then he was punished and beaten in 22 marketplaces, and he wouldn't die, a wonderful pastime. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself appeared and assumed the form of the back of Haridasa Thakura and accepted that beating. And one time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed Haridasa Thakura those marks. And in various assemblies and occasions, Srila Haridasa Thakura, his descriptions of him preaching the glories of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra are described. At this time, Haridasa Thakura established his relationship with Srila Advaita Acharya Thakur. Although we can see from the description of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami that even prior to meeting with Srila Advaita Acharya, because it was on his way to Pulia and Shantipur, Pulia and Shantipur are adjacent villages where Haridasa Thakura he came and lived there. Before that, he was already, Kaviraj Goswami describes, he was already chanting 300,000 names a day, and he was also already referred to as Haridash. However, there is indication that Srila Advaita Acharya initiated Haridasa Thakura. If you visit Shantipur, the ancestral home of Srila Advaita Acharya, you'll see a small mandir there, and it mentions the place where Srila Advaita Acharya initiated Srila Haridasa Thakura. Of course, the extraordinary pastime of Srila Advaita Acharya offering the Shraddha Patra, which is usually offered to the most exalted Brahmin, is described in Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Caritamrta. And this is very significant, and it reflects the principle of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's preaching and mission and teachings, that Dinahina Jotto Chilo, Hariname Udharilo, regardless of how fallen, Dinahina Jotto Chilo, how fallen you can possibly calculate or imagine, Hariname Udharilo, one can be completely delivered by chanting the holy name of the Lord. And Haridasa Thakura appeared actually to demonstrate this principle of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teachings, and this is mentioned by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during the departure of Haridasa Thakura and that LIla, which we'll discuss shortly. So already quite a developed relationship had been established between Srila Haridasa Thakura and Sri Advaita Acharya at the time of the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In LIla, chapter 13, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami mentions that at the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, Srila Advaita Acharya Prabhu in Shantipur was dancing in a pleasing mood and taking Haridasa Thakura with him. He danced loudly and chanted Hare Krishna. So already they were performing their pastimes together in a developed way at the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance. Biographers of Srila Haridasa Thakura describe that he is approximately 30 or 40 years older than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So which we'll hear shortly, the time of his departure, perhaps he was in his late 60s or 70s. Having come to Navadip and associating with the Advaita Acharya and the devotees, Haridasa Thakura was performing Sankirtan, Sribhas Thakur, Gadadhar Pandit, Advaita Acharya and other associates of the Lord. At that time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not had not begun the Sankirtan movement of congregational chanting, but after going to Gayadam and then taking initiation from Srila Ishwar Puri, returning to Mayapur, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inaugurated the Sankirtan movement to deliver the entire world. And after performing Sankirtan for a year in the house of Haridasa Thakura every evening, one day Chaitanya Mahaprabhu announced to the devotees, Shunu Shunu Nityananda, Shunu Haridas, Shabatra Amaragai Koraho Prakash. Listen Nityananda, listen Haridas. Savatra Amaragai Koraho Prakash. You spread, you reveal Koraho Prakash, Shabatra, in all places Amaragai, my teachings. So Srila Haridasa Thakura, Shunu Shunu Nityananda, Shunu Haridas, Nityananda Prabhu and Haridasa Thakura were the principal preachers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. Through them he first inaugurated officially and publicly on a broad scale the preaching of the holy name. Having taken sannyas and arrived in Jagannath Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's preaching, it became much a broader scale and a much more formal and a public style of preaching. After delivering Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he travelled in South India for 2 years, and then the journey to Gauda to deliver Rupa and Sanatan is described, and then the actual journey to Vrindavan. In these instances, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu preached to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Ramananda Roy, Rup Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Prakashananda Saraswati. These 5 different incidences are described in Srila Prabhupada's teachings of Lord Chaitanya, which describe the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in one verse, Kaviraj Goswami summarizes the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Tarmodde choy bot chor, gamon, agamon, kabu dokin, kabu gaur, kabu Vrindavan. Within that period of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life, Tarmodde choy bot chor, there was a 6-year period, gamon, agamon, which was simply going and coming. Kabu dokin, sometimes in South India, Kabu Gaur, Bengal, Kabu Vrindavan, the 3 places that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu journeyed, which are described in the Madhya Lila. South India, Bengal, and then Vrindavan. It's within this coming and going that the teachings, the principal teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are given, and for this reason Srila Prabhupada focused on the Madhya Lila in the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami describes the Madhya Lila, although shortest period of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life compared to Adi Lila and Anta Lila, he describes that as the principal pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because therein his teachings are found. So after the South Indian tour, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Jagannath Puri, and the devotees via Kala Krishnadas sent news to Bengal that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had returned to Jagannath Puri. And then immediately there was festival at Advaita Acharya's house in Shantipur. All the devotees from Bengal and Navadip gathered there, and then they made arrangements to come to Jagannath Puri. Haridasa Thakura was amongst those devotees, and he's described in the description that Kaviraj Goswami gives of the Gauda Hoite Bhakta Ashyat Chinduishatta Mahaprabhu Bhakta Shah Mahabhagavata. 200 devotees have come from Bengal and have arrived and are waiting on the bank of Narendra Sarovar. In that description, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also mentions Srila Haridasa Thakura. However, he doesn't come immediately in the presence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and that's very interesting why that is. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he inquired, where is Haridas? Haridasa kohe mui nicho jati char, mondir nikote jaite mor nahi adhikar. Haridasa Thakura said that mui nicho jati char, I am of a low birth. Mondir nikote, to go close to the temple. Jaite mor nahi adhikar, I have no qualification. I'm not qualified to go close to the temple. So because the devotees had arrived, and Mahaprabhu was in his residence, the home of Kashi Mishra, which is close to the temple, Haridasa Thakura didn't go there, considering himself fallen and unqualified. Prabhupada comments, Haridasa Thakura was so exalted that he was addressed as Thakur and Goshai, which are the most exalted, the most honorific titles in the Vaishnava society and culture. spiritual master is generally called Goshai and Thakur. He chose to address Paramahamsa in the topmost rank of spirituality. Nonetheless, Haridasa Thakura did not want to go near the temple, although he was called there by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then Srila Haridasa Thakura expressed his desire, if I could just go to a solitary place near the temple, I could stay there alone and pass my time. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to hear this sentiment of Srila Haridasa Thakura. Haridasa Thakura continued, Jagannath Sheboker mor sporsha nahi hoy taha pori rahu mor a bancha hoy. You please arrange, I do not want to be in circumstances where Jagannath er Shebok mor sparsha hoy. The devotees of Lord Jagannath, the servants of Lord Jagannath, the priests in the temple, they touch me. So, a bancha hoy, please give me a place, a secluded place away from the temple, and I can remain there. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very satisfied to hear the decision and desire, more bancha hoy, the desire of Haridasa Thakura. Haridasa Thakura, Rup Shanartan, Jagannath Mandir, Najai Tinjan, these three exalted Paramhamsa Vaishnavas, eternal associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jagannath Mandir, Najai Tinjan, they did not enter the temple of Lord Jagannath. And in this way they exemplified the mood of humility which is so much appreciated and valued by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As Srila Srinivas Acharya glorifies the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, Nidra, aha, vihar, vijito, cha, adanta, Nidra, sleeping, aha, eating, vihar, sense enjoyment, vijito, they completely conquered. Cha, Atanta dino. However, they were excessively humble. Atanta means the extremities of humility. So hearing Srila Haridasa Thakura's decision not to go close to the temple, so as not to pollute the servants of Lord Jagannath, Eikota logiye prabhur kohila. When the devotees came and told that to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shunya Prabhu mone boro shuk hoila. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to hear that. Srila Haridasa Thakura is residing in Shidhabaku, a little away from the temple. And every day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would visit Lord Jagannath, and then immediately after visiting Lord Jagannath he would come often with the Mahaprasad of Lord Jagannath, and he would meet with Srila Haridasa Thakura. And this is a daily pastime of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And sometimes Govinda, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's servant, would also come and visit him and bring the Mahaprasad. So we're reading from the LIla of Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta, the passing of Haridasa Thakura, from text number 16. Ekdin Govinda Mahaprasad laya Haridashe dite gelo anandito hoya. One day, Govinda Mahaprasad laya, taking the Mahaprasad of Lord Jagannath, Haridashe dite gelo, he went to give that Mahaprasad to Haridasa Thakura, anandito hoyo, in great jubilation. And when he arrived, he saw that Srila Haridasa Thakura was lying down on his back, chanting his rounds very slowly. Please rise and take your Mahaprasadam, Govinda said. Haridasa Thakura replied that today I shall observe fasting. Shankya Kirtan Pure Nahi Kemate Kaibo Shankya Kirtan Purabe Nahi. Having not completed my prescribed rounds, Kemate Kaibo. How can I possibly eat? But Mahaprasad Aniacho Kimate Opekabo. You have bought Mahaprasadam, so how can I possibly neglect that? So saying this, he offered prayers to the Mahaprasadam and then took a little portion. Srila Prabhupada comments in his purport that instead of eating Mahaprasadam, one should honor Mahaprasadam, as is indicated here by Haridasa Thakura, Korila Bandhan, offering his obeisances to the prasadam before taking it. So this news was passed on to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by Govinda that Haridasa Thakura appears to be not well, lying down on his back and chanting slowly. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the next day, he went to the Siddha Bakula personally to see Srila Haridasa Thakura. And he inquired from Haridasa Thakura, "Are you well, Haridas?" "Namaskar kori, teho koilo nibedon." He offered his obeisances, and then he replied to the Lord, "Sharir shushta hoy mo, ashushta buddhi mon." Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, "Are you well?" And Haridasa Thakura replied, "Sharir shushta hoy." My body is well. Ashushta, but anwa ashushta buddhi mon is my mind and intelligence. Buddhi mon. Prabhu kohe, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inquired, "Kono byadi koho to ninoy, are you able to identify the disease that you're suffering from? Can you ascertain what the disease is?" Teho kohe shankirtan na pudai. And Haridasa Thakura replied that my disease is that shankya kirtan na pudai. I am unable to complete my prescribed number of rounds. Prabhu kohe, Mahaprabhu replied, "Briddha hoilo, you've become old. Shanka alpa koro, you can reduce the number of rounds you chant daily. Siddha deho tumi, shadane agraha keno koro." Siddha deho tumi. You're liberated. Siddha deho tumi. You're perfected your consciousness. Siddha deho tumi. Shadane agraha keno koro. Agraha is niyam agraha. This attachment, agraha, to sadhana. Sadhana agraha keno koro. Why you're so attached to the sadhana? Prabhupada translates, therefore you need not follow the regulative principles very strictly. Sadhana agraha keno koro. In the purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada comments that unless one has come to the platform of spontaneous love of God, he must follow the regulative principles. So, Siddha Deho Tumi, Prabhupada is explaining, that's the platform of love of Godhead, spontaneous love of Godhead, that's Bhava Bhakti, Prem Bhakti. So, unless one has reached the platform of Bhava or Prema Bhakti, it's not acceptable to reduce the practice of sadhana, indicating the exalted platform, Bhava, Prem Bhakti, that Srila Haridasa Thakura was situated on. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes on to describe now that the glorious and extraordinary position of Srila Haridasa Thakura, that his appearance was not like an ordinary conditioned soul. He's described by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as an avatar. Lok nishtarite, ei tomar avatar, lok nishtarite. Your role in this incarnation is to deliver the people in general. Deliver the people in general. Lok nishtarite, ei tomar avatar. This is your role in this incarnation. Namer mohima, loker korila prochar. Namer mohima, the glories of the holy name. Loker korila prochar. You have sufficiently preached the glories of the holy name in this world. In his purport, Srila Prabhupada comments that by using the words Tomar Avatar, your incarnation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms that Srila Haridasa Thakura is the incarnation of Lord Brahma. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that advanced devotees appear to help the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his mission, and such devotees or personal associates incarnate by the will of the Lord. Srila Haridasa Thakura is referred to as Brahma Haridas. Also in another place, Mahaprabhu describes he's a combined incarnation of Lord Brahma and Prahlad Maharaj, particularly after his being beaten and tolerating such punishment and cruelty by the hands. Like Prahlad Maharaj was punished in a very cruel way by Hiranyakashipu's assistants and guards. So Srila Haridasa Thakura was punished in a very cruel way by the guards of the Nawab. And in the Navadip Nam Mahatmya by Thakur Bhaktivinoda describes that Lord Brahma, after being bewildered in the Brahma Mohan Lila, as a result of his prestige and ahankar, considering himself so important as the Jagannandanath, the Lord of the universe, Lord Brahma. He's creator of the universe. He became proud. So he therefore desired to serve the Lord in a very humble way, completely devoid of any type of prestige. For that reason, he appeared in the low birth, or not even in the Sanatana Dharma society, Samaj of the Sanatanists. He appeared outside of that in the Jabon class. This humility of Srila Haridasa Thakura is seen here in his determination not even to go near the temple of Lord Jagannath and thus pollute the servants of the Lord. In ISKCON we often introduce ourselves to amongst the devotees as, "Oh Prabhu, I am very fallen, I am the lowest, I am so unqualified." But we don't actually really believe that. We think that these materialists there, I'm more progressed than them. But this is how we speak. But Haridasa Thakura, he's actually believing that. He's actually convinced that he is very, very low and very, very unqualified. And he's Lord Brahma. He's Lord Brahma. Just see the exalted, exquisite style and mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. That such an avatar, potit pavan hetu tava avatar, mokshama potit prabhu na pai beya. Potit pavan hetu. He's come to deliver the most fallen. Mokshama potita prabhu na pai beya. And the devotees are considering themselves the most fallen. This is the humility that is prominent value in the mission and the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself exonerates in the Shishtastikam. Trinadapi shunichina, tadadapi shahishnuna, amanina manadena. Amanina, no interest in respect or prestige given to oneself. Manidena, and constantly showing respect to others. Kirtaniya shadahari. In this state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Haridasa Thakura is the personification of this principle. Namen mohima lok koryala procha. By your speaking, by your teachings, and by your personal example, you have namen mohima, the glories of the holy name, lok er procha. You have sufficiently preached throughout the world. So how does Srila Haridasa Thakura respond to this very significant statement and indication of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Haridasa Thakura replies that he doesn't say yes and then thank you, thanks for the encouragement. He disagrees. He disagrees. I was born in an inferior family and my body is most abominable. Mahaprabhu said, Siddha Deho to me, you're a perfect being. Haridasa Thakura says, my body is most abominable. I am the lowest and most condemned of men. I'm unseeable and untouchable. But you have accepted me as your servant, and you have delivered me from a hellish condition and raised me to the Vaikuntha platform. I was offered in humility, he makes this statement, I was offered the Shraddha Patra by Srila Advaita Thakur, which should have been offered to the first class Brahmins, and I ate from it, even though I was born in a family of meat eaters. He's mentioning this to see how shameless I am. That the most lowest, the most abominable, unseen, untouchable person, I ate from that Shraddha Patra. Just see how proud I am, even though I'm born in a family of meat eaters. So even the Supreme Lord himself is appreciating and glorifying, but such a devotee in such consciousness, he cannot see beyond the conception that he is the most fallen and he is the most unqualified, and only by your mercy, potit pavan hetu tava, moshama potita prabhu na paibaya. Only by your mercy have I been delivered and raised to the Vaikuntha platform. Srila Haridasa Thakura continued that, I have had one desire for a very long time. I think, my Lord, that quite soon you will bring to close your pastimes within this material world. LIla, your disappearance Lila, this Lila, LIla Prabhu, More, Kabunar, Dekhaibo, please do not show me that Lila of your disappearing from this world. Apanar age more sharir poribo. In front of you, apanar age, in front of you, kindly let my body fall down in your presence. Apanar age, in your presence. Mor sharir por aibo. I will allow me to leave my body in your presence. Srila Haridasa Thakura continues, Hridaye dharimu tomar kamal charan. Hridaye dharimu. I will hold in my heart tomar kamal charan, your lotus feet. Catch your lotus feet upon my heart. Nayane dekimu tomar chad bodon. And I want to see your moon-like face. Chad bodon. With my tongue, I will chant your holy name, Sri Krishna Caitanya. That is my desire. Please let me give up my body in this way. Mor ei icha jodi tomar prashade hoy, ei nivedon mor koro doyamoy, ei nivedon. Kindly grant, this is my request. Ei nivedon. Prabhu kohe, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replies, Haridas je tumi magibe Krishna kripamoy taha avashai koribe. Tumi, whatever you desire, Krishna is so merciful that avashai koribe, he will execute whatever you want. Because how can Krishna refuse the desire of his dear devotee? He wants to please his dear devotee. Mahaprabhu continues, but whatever happiness is mine is all due to your association. So it's not fitting that you leave me behind. Catching the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Haridasa Thakura said, if an insignificant insect like me dies, what is the loss? If an ant dies, what is the loss to this material world? Once again, the personification of humility. Tobe Mahaprabhu tar kore olingon. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Srila Haridasa Thakura. Madhyan korite samudre korile gamon. And he left to perform his noon duties and take bath in the sea. So the next morning, after visiting the temple of Lord Jagannath, accompanied by his devotees, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very hastily came to see Srila Haridasa Thakura. Haridasa age ailo dilodarshan, coming before Haridasa Thakura. Haridas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the devotees, they came into the presence of Haridasa Thakura. Haridas Bondile Prabhu Ar Vaishnav Charan. Haridasa Thakura offered Bandile, he offered his prayers and obeisances to the lotus feet of the Lord. Ar Vaishnav Charan, and the lotus feet of the Vaishnavas who were with the Lord. Prabhu Kahe, Mahaprabhu said, Haridas Kaha Samarchar. Oh Haridasa Thakura, what is the news? Haridas Kahe, Haridas replied, Prabhu Jai Kripa Tomar, whatever mercy you bestow upon me. So upon hearing this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately began congregational chanting in the courtyard of the Siddha Bakula ashram. Surrounded by all the devotees, all of the devotees surrounded Haridasa Thakura and were performing congregational chanting, and Bakreshra Pandit was the chief dancer. Dancing going on. When there's Sankirtan, there is dancing. In fact, in this LIla, Bakreshra Pandit's dancing in the departure of Haridasa Thakura, this LIla, Srila Bakreshra Pandit's dancing is mentioned 3 times, is referred to 3 times. That's how significant are the dances in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan party. Mahaprabhu himself was given the order to dance by Srila Ishwar Puri Prabhupada. Nache gao bhakta sange koro sankirtan Krishna nama upadeshi tara sharvajan. Nache, dance, gao, sing, bhakta sange, in the association of the devotees. Koro sankirtan, to perform sankirtan. Krishna nama upadeshi tara sharvajan. And Krishna nama upadeshi, you teach the science of chanting Hare Krishna. Tara Sharabhajan, and in this way deliver all the people. This order Srila Ishwar Puri gave Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Gaya. So there's dancing, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very much appreciated the dancing of his devotees, and he danced himself. So Haridasa Thakura, immediately this LIla is about to eventuate, immediately there's performance of Sankirtan. And throughout the entire incident of Haridasa Thakur's departure, the performance of Sankirtan was continually being performed. In front of all the great devotees, Ramananda Roy and Shavabhama Bhattacharya, they'd all come. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the devotees were all of the exalted devotees and important devotees were associating with him all of the time, as much time as they possibly could. So they had all come to witness this most significant event of Haridasa Thakur's departure. It appears from the discussion in the previous day, Mahaprabhu, he made a complaint that how can I carry on without you? All of my happiness comes from your association. But there was no indication that Mahaprabhu was refusing the desire of Haridasa Thakur. So the devotees the next day, they were expecting that something extraordinary is about to happen, and they're all coming to participate. So in front of all the great devotees, Ramananda Roy and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, etc., Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to describe the holy attributes of Srila Haridasa Thakur. Why such devotees like Srila Vrindavan Thakur, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Srila Prabhupada are so dear to the Lord because they're so brilliant in glorifying the Lord and His devotees. And this is very much appreciated by the Lord. And the Lord here Himself personally begins glorifying the qualities and character of Srila Haridasa Thakur. Haridasa gun kohite prabhu hoilo pachamuk. The Lord, it appeared as though He had 5 mouths. Pachamuk, 5 mouths. He seemed to possess 5 mouths. Haridasa guna kohite, as He described the transcendental attributes of Haridasa Thakur. Kohite kohite prabhu boro mahashuk. And in describing kohite kohite, in describing the qualities of Haridasa Thakur, prabhu bore mahashuk, he became, his happiness increased tremendously. Mahashuk. Haridasher gune shabai bishmito hoimon. Hearing these qualities of Haridasa Thakur, shabai bishmito hoimon, all the devotees were struck with wonder. Sharaba bhakta bande Haridasher charan, and all of the devotees offered their respects to the lotus feet of Haridasa Thakur. At that time, Haridasa Thakur, he made Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sit down in front of him, and then he fixed his eyes like 2 bumblebees on the lotus face of the Lord. 2 bumblebees. You know how bumblebees, they become attached to a flower. They don't go away. Like 2 bumblebees, his beautiful eyes fixed on the lotus face of the Lord. He held the lotus feet as he prayed a little earlier, that I want to hold your lotus feet in my heart and see your beautiful moon-like face and chant your name, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And in that situation, give up my body. So he held the lotus feet, and Mahaprabhu is going to fulfill his desire. He held the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on his heart, and he took the dust of all the devotees who were present there, and then, whilst like 2 bumblebees, his eyes fixed on the face of the Lord, he began to chant the holy name, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, again and again. Drinking the sweetness of the face of the Lord, tears constantly glided down from his eyes. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Shabda, Kohite Ucharon, Namer Shahita, Pran Koilo Utkramon. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Shabda Korite Ucharan, whilst chanting the sound, the name of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Namer Shahita, along with chanting the name Namer Shahita, Pran Koilo Utkraman, his life air, it left. He gave up his air of life and left his body. Apart from the previous day lying down and slowly chanting his rounds, there seemed to be no symptom of any imminent departure of Haridasa Thakur. He was in health, good health. So this is very extraordinary. that he mentioned to the Lord that I soon, so this was also later in Mahaprabhu's, this is Antya LIla, later in Mahaprabhu's pastimes. He says, soon your pastimes in this world will be over, because Mahaprabhu had 24 years in Navadip LIla, where he's distributing the holy name in such a sweet manner. Ishikaniya Shobnadiya feature Neche Gornitai, dancing and wandering along with Nityananda Prabhu throughout the area of Navadip. Ishikaniya, taking these teachings, everyone chant Radha Krishna Bol 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 Shavai. Ishikaniya Shobnadiya feature Neche Gornitai. That pastime had been completed, preaching and distributing the holy name and performing Shankirtan with the Antaranga Bhaktagan in Navadip. And then the 6 years, Choi Botchor, Tarmode, Gamon Gamon, Kabu Dokin, Kabu Gold, Kabu Vrindavan, the touring in South India, the attempt to go to Vrindavan, touring in Bangladesh, Bengal, go to Desh, delivering Rupa and Sanatan, the touring to Vrindavan, and preaching, teaching Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, Shavabhoma Bhattacharya, Prakasananda Saraswati, and now the residence in Jagannath Puri, with the Antaranga Bhaktagan enjoying the Viraha, mood of separation. So all of these things had been completed in Mahaprabhu's Leela, and therefore Haridasa Thakura was expressing that I feel that now, having completed all of these things, your pastimes are going to come to an end. So I don't want to see that disappearance pastime of yours, because that will be too painful for me. We heard after the Lord departed how many devotees, all the devotees were so devastated. Srivas Thakur, he left Navadip. He couldn't remain anymore in Navadip. It was too painful, seeing the places where he'd performed. So, therefore, he went to Kumarahata. So, having such a strong desire not to see those pastimes and desiring to leave his body in this most extraordinary, most glorious way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fulfilled this desire. And in the kirtan, looking at the Lord, holding on to the lotus feet of the Lord, he gave up his life. Reflect on the glorious departure of Srila Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj, also in the kirtan, seemingly by his own will, gave up his body. Seeing the wonderful death of Srila Haridasa Thakura by his own will, which was just like a great mystic yogis, everyone remembered Bhishmadev. Bhishmadev similarly waited there on the battlefield of Kurukshetra where he had fallen. He waited there for several weeks, 3 or 4 weeks, a month, and without any blood in his body, lying on the bed of arrows, until the Uttanarayan Makar Sankranti date, and also for the presence of the Lord, so that he could give up his body, seeing Parthasarati, a similar perfection. And so they're remembering the great departure of Bhishmadev, which is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's very befitting because they're very similar. When Srila Haridasa Thakura left the body, there was a tumultuous noise as all the devotees were chanting the holy name of Hari. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became overwhelmed with ecstatic love at that time. He took the body of Srila Haridasa Thakura on his lap, and he began to dance in the courtyard in great ecstasy. And seeing the Lord manifest such symptoms of love of Godhead, all of the devotees also became overwhelmed. Premabesh, love of Godhead filling their hearts, and they all joined in that Sankirtan as Mahaprabhu danced jubilantly with the transcendental body of Srila Haridasa Thakura in his arms. What a sight to see. They then raised the body of Srila Haridasa Thakura onto a carrier that resembled an airship, and they took him to the seaside, along with the congregational chanting. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he led the procession, and Bakrashar Pandit danced behind him. Haridashe Shamudra Jole Shnan Korila. They bathed the body of Haridasa Thakura in the Shamudra Jal, the ocean. Prabhu kohe Shamudra e Mahartita hoilo. And Prabhu said that Shamudra e, this beach and this sea in Jagannath Puri, Mahartirta hoilo, it has become a great pilgrimage site. Haridasher Padoka Piye Bhaktagan, drinking the water that had bathed the transcendental body of Srila Haridasa Thakura, Haridasher Ange Dilo Prasad Chandan. On the body of Haridasa Thakura, they smeared the remnants of Lord Jagannath's prasadam and sandalwood pulp. Then a hole was dug in the sand, and the body of Srila Haridasa Thakura was placed in that hole, along with remnants of Lord Jagannath's prasadam and his silken robes, the sandalwood pulp, and the cloth were all placed on the body. Haribol, bole gaudarai, apane Sri Haste balu dilo targai. Haribol, gaudarai. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanting Hari. With his own hands, Sri Haste balu dilo targai. He personally covered the body of Haridasa Thakura with sand. So after the body of Haridasa Thakura was completely covered, a platform was constructed on the site and protected by fencing, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu carried on dancing and chanting all around that platform. This whole Sankirtan festival had been going on for an extensive period of time, beginning with the initial interaction of Shachinandan and Srila Haridasa Thakura at Siddhabakula, and then the beginning of the Mahaprabhu dancing, and then Haridasa Thakura taking his lotus feet, fixing his eyes on the face. During the kirtan, leaving his body, the kirtan continued. The kirtan was incessant. Mahaprabhu taking the body of Haridasa Thakura, dancing through the courtyard, and then putting the body onto the carrier, taking him to the seat, all constantly, all the time, the performance of Sankirtan, jubilant, ecstatic Sankirtan. And then the different rituals, and then covering the body in sand and building the protective platform and fence. All of this, Mahaprabhu and his devotees were performing ecstatic congregational chanting. Tobe Mahaprabhu Shab Bhaktagan Shange, then Mahaprabhu taking all of the devotees with him. Shamudre Korila Shnan Jol Kela Ronge. Jol Kela Ronge. Swimming and playing, Kela Ronge, Shamudre Jole, in the ocean, in great jubilation. After spending extensive time swimming, playing, getting refreshed in the sea, water, Mahaprabhu came out of the sea, perhaps not mentioned, but got refreshed, changed clothes, then circumambulated the tomb of Srila Haridasa Thakura, and then he went to the Singadwara gate in front of the temple of Lord Jagannath, whilst performing Sankirtan. So at the Singadwara gate, Mahaprabhu then spread his cloth and he began to beg prasadam from the shopkeepers there. Haridasa Thakura Mahotsav Shabai Tore. I am, for the Mahotsav, for the festival of honouring the passing of Haridasa Thakura, Prasad Magiya Bika Dehota Amare, I am begging prasadam. All of the shops there surrounding the Jagannath Puri temple were selling the Mahaprasad of Lord Jagannath, just as now we see. And the shopkeepers were very enthusiastic. Immediately they came forward with big baskets of prasadam. However, Swarup Damodar stopped them and sent all those shopkeepers back to their shops. And they were all sitting there with their baskets of prasadam. What next? And then Swarup Damodar sent Chaitanya Mahaprabhu back to his own residence. And he kept with him 4 Vaishnavas, all the devotees left. He kept with him 4 Vaishnavas and 4 assistants. And then Swarup Damodar said to the shopkeepers, deliver to me 4 palmfuls of prasadam from each and every item. Okay, so the reason for that, sending Mahaprabhu back and Swarup Damodar himself personally doing it, not commented on by Srila Prabhupada, but it is significant. And he's doing it in a very systematic way. For Mahaprabhu, just the cloth there, and everyone bring the baskets. And Swarup Damodar took it back. Said, no, give 4 palmfuls from each item. And then they packed up the different loads of prasadam and carried it on the heads of the 4 servants. What a seva that would be. Huh? They're just the servants, but to carry the prasadam on the head for the festival, where Mahaprabhu personally with his hand feed all the devotees in great jubilation, what a service that would be to carry that prasadam. In Mahaprabhu's movement, everybody is glorious. So Mahaprabhu made all the devotees sit in rows, distribute prasadam assisted by other men. Mahaprabhu Sri Haste, Alpana Aishe, Mahaprabhu Sri Haste, in the hand of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is so huge. Alpana Aishe is not accustomed to taking prasadam in small quantities. Ek pate pach joner bhakka poribeshe, in each and every plate, he gave what 5 people could eat. So no one was eating. No one was eating. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hadn't sat and began to take his prasadam. No one would eat. This is a principle of Vaishnava culture. Not to begin. In an assembly, one shouldn't begin taking prasadam. The most senior person should be the one who begins. And actually one should remain there, seated, until the most senior person has completed prasadam and got up. So no one was taking prasadam, and Swarup Damodar went to the Lord and said, please sit down. With these men to help me, I will distribute the prasadam. Because no one is going to take prasadam as long as you don't sit down and begin honoring. So along with Paramananda Puri and Brahmananda Bharati, 2 sannyasi associates, Swarup Damodar was also sannyasi. He took sannyas. After Mahaprabhu took sannyas in Katwa and went to Jagannath Puri, Swarup Damodar, he was a brahmachari in Mayapur. And he left and went to Varanasi and took sannyas. Chaitanananda Bharati took sannyas and gave up the sikha and the sacred thread. However, he didn't accept the saffron cloth, nor did he change his name and accept the sannyasi name. So he kept the name Swarup Damodar Brahmachari, but he was also had accepted sannyas. Brahmananda Bharati and Paramananda Puri, they were very much respected by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And as sannyasis, they were like his equals, and Mahaprabhu sat with them to take prasad. Akanta, Puran, Shabai, Korila Bhojan, everyone was eating immense amounts of prasadam, filled up to the neck, Akanta, filled up to the neck. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept telling the distributors, Deho, Boli Prabhu, Bolen Bochan. Again and again he was saying, give more prasadam. That's feasting along with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So after all of the devotees had completed prasadam and washed their hands and mouths, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decorated each of them with a flower garland and sandalwood pulp. Then, overwhelmed with ecstatic love, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered benediction to everyone who was present at that festival. He said that anyone who has seen the festival of Haridasa Thakur's passing away, who has chanted and danced here, who has offered sand on the body of Srila Haridasa Thakur, and anyone who has joined this festival even to take of prasadam alone. So even if you don't go for the whole thing, but at least you come for the prasadam, that's still glorious. Haridas Darshana Hoy Acha Shakti, the power of seeing Haridasa Thakur, that person very quickly will achieve the mercy of Krishna. This is the wonderful power of seeing Haridasa Thakur. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then told everyone, say, all glories to Haridasa Thakur. Haridasa Thakur ki jai, Haridasa Thakur ki jai, Haridasa Thakur ki jai. And chant the holy name of Hari. Saying this, he personally began to dance again after the prasadam, Mahaprabhu, carrying on with the Sankirtan. Shabai Ghai, Jai, 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 Haridas. Everyone called out, Jai, 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 Haridas. Namena Mohima, Jeho, Korila Prakash. He who, Namena Mohima, the glories of the holy name, Korila Prakash, who revealed that to the whole world. Revealed the importance, Namena Mohima, to the whole world. Eito Kohilun, Haridashera Vijay. In this way, Eito Kohilun, we have described Haridashera Vijay, the glorious, victorious Vijay, victorious departure of Srila Haridasa Thakur. Jaha Shrabane, anyone who hears this description, Krishna Dridha Bhakti Hoy, certainly will fix his mind in devotional service to Krishna. Krishna Dridha Bhakti Hoy. Kaviraj Goswami continues to summarize the significance of the glorious departure of Srila Haridasa Thakura. Caitanya Bhakta Vatsalya ihaite jani Bhakta Vancha Punna Kailo Nyasha Shiromani. Ihaite jani, from this incident of the departure of Srila Haridasa Thakura and the great care that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took in commemorating it, one can understand just how affectionate he is towards his devotees. Caitanya Bhakta Vatsalya, the affection that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has for his dear devotees. Bhakta Bancha Punno, the Nyasha Shiromani, the topmost of all sannyasis, Bhakta Bancha Punno, fulfilled and satisfied the desire of Srila Haridasa Thakura. Thank you all very much. Srila Haridasa Thakura ki jai. Srila Haridasa Thakura Vijay Mahotsav ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.